A few years ago, I was in Venice, which is amazing just to say that. I was in Venice, wandering the narrow pathways and window shopping and enjoying being lost, which is the best. When I realized just around the corner was an actress, Diane Keaton, and she was clearly there for the Venice Film Festival. So ever since then, I've wondered if I could go back and attend the festival myself. And after diligent research, I now know the answer, and I will be telling you all about it on today's 3D TravelCast.
All right, Carol Beth, can we attend the Venice Film Festival without being a filmmaker or an actor?
Yes.
We want to know.
Yes, ma'am, you can. You absolutely can. It's super fun. So you can, there's a lot of pieces to that answer. So there's some things like there's the photos that you see if you look at the press releases, or I'm sure not watching much television, but I can imagine like the E Entertainment and those kind of things shows them arriving on the boats, right? So the celebrities arrive on the boats. So that opening event and the closing event, you're probably not going to go to those, but that's just a small piece of the puzzle. So it's like 10 days. It's a long festival and there's movies the entire time. And yes, you absolutely can go, and we'll walk through how to do that. It's so fun.
So awesome. So tell us what it does look like. If it doesn't look like us going to openings, or do you go to the individual movies, or are there like little events scattered throughout? How does that work?
Well, first I'm going to describe to you what it's like to even to be there, just to give you an overview, just to even know what you're going to, if that makes sense. Because it's not the middle of a city. It's an island. And so it's the Lido Island, which is not the main Venice island. I was ignorant enough, I didn't realize that. So which you have to take something like if you're staying in Venice proper, what we always think of, and all the pictures in front of the Grand Canal. It's in the canals. There's quite a few islands for Venice, but it's a different one. And it has this long, thin peninsula with a beach on it. And it has its own restaurants, and so it's a step away. That's why people are arriving by water for the most part, but sometimes they're probably staying in Lido. And then not only are there celebrities to look at, but there's super yachts. So like some of the world's most beautiful super yachts will arrive at Venice for this festival. So there is so much voyeurism to be had. It's just kind of amazing. If you're on the Lido Island and you're visiting, you could enjoy being there for the Venice Film Festival and never go see a film, because you could be getting gelato and next to you is going to be a celebrity or a filmmaker. It depends on, like, I get just as excited about the people who create films, like the creativity of making films, as I do about the people who are the actors, right? So like a lot of very unique, interesting people who put these stories together that we love to watch are going to be, getting gelato and getting lunch and hanging out on the island, maybe on the beach. So you can.
That's people watching on a next level.
And
I love people watching.
Yes. It is one of the most, from my research, I found it was one of the most easy, relaxed ways to be in a celebrity event without, you're not standing on the sidelines while they yell, hey, 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 except for that opening event, which I would be the least excited to be a part of. Right. I don't care about the red carpet. It's fun that the red carpet is water for this, but I don't think I'd get any more out of it standing behind a velvet rope yelling at people, right, than I would seeing the pictures.
Right.
But those moments where you get to interact with people just spontaneously and just be around them is really, really cool. So the how, you actually go on the website. It reminds me of Comic-Con. I don't know if you've ever done Comic-Con, or sometimes when we're trying to get a reservation for one of our clients, or just something like that, you are just refreshing and trying to get the tickets. There's a little bit of that.
Right.
So there are some things you get ahead of time. There's three kinds of credentials. There's three kinds of credentials, of which you want none of them. So you can have press credentials, industry credentials, or cinema credentials, which I guess you could have cinema credentials because then you'd be the general public, but you don't want press or industry credentials. Yes, that gets you to certain places.
It seems like those.
What'd you say?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It seems like those would get you into places you wouldn't regularly, but you don't want that.
Well, and I think
I mean, obviously you
Yeah.
couldn't if you weren't one of those people, but
there's stipulations
Interesting.
to having press credentials or industry credentials, and you pay for them no matter what. But if you are one of the general public, there's
Oh.
actual showings of different films that they bring the general public in first. That's their priority, is to have the public in front of those films. So I think that's interesting too.
That's
right?
fascinating.
And then they have things at the last
Yeah.
minute while you're there. There's one theater in particular where you just get things at the last minute to get into those things. But like it's reading about it, like of normal people who went, who were just film festival fans or just wanted that experience. Nobody had a negative experience. There's so much to look at and see and enjoy being in Venice anyway. But then to be in an island that most people normally don't go to and enjoy that experience
Right.
there. And I got to tell you, Italian food, man, I don't care where you are, you're going to enjoy that Italian food.
I know.
But Italian food and people
This
watching.
is true.
I have a Venice food story, but that's not for today, so we'll have to
Oh.
do that another time.
We can do just
Well, now
food
I'm curious
in
though.
Venice. Now, I know. Now you big old tease. Wendy, are you sure we can't do it
Yeah,
today?
so we'll just. I mean, it doesn't have anything to do with the Venice Film Festival,
That's
so we'll
okay.
just have to do another.
Just do another one
How
about
about
Venice.
just a
Okay,
teaser?
so
Okay. If you must.
Just do a teaser for us today,
I
and then
know.
we'll move
You
on.
never know with you, Wendy.
Okay. Well, I will just say that the worst Italian food I have ever had in my life was in Venice. I'm not
All
sure
right,
you
well,
can even
there-
classify it as Italian once you find out. So anyway,
That's funny.
I'm kind of
There's my
excited,
teaser.
and now I know. David has a clip for us. Our editor puts a clip at the very beginning of every episode. I kind of feel like that's
going to
be
the
this
worst
one.
food I ever had in Venice.
oh no,
Italian food I ever had. Was in
Yep.
no,
Venice.
but let's all go to the Venice Film Festival.
And
yeah,
eat this
so-
gross food.
And have horrible Italian
So funny.
food. Okay.
And you know what's funny?
It's just my experience. So.
Yes. Okay. So some of my favorite food was in Venice, but my least favorite meal, that's so funny, I hadn't thought about it, was in Venice as well. It was a little hole in the wall place. And I think, so if I didn't realize, well, I did, but I don't know how to tell the difference. So in Venice particularly, but really all over Italy, there are places that are really more geared towards the locals, and the local people eat there,
Mhm.
and it's less expensive and it's for them. And then there's the stuff that's for us when we visit, right? So it's that way they can have that sense of community without being overrun by, I don't know, Americans all the time. I think I stumbled into one of the local places because it was not the same.
But every time we go, my husband goes to the locals and he asks, he says, if you're going out to eat, where are you going? Because that's where I want to go.
No.
So
you
do
can't
they
do
really
that in
just not
Venice.
want us there?
No.
No?
Absolutely
Okay.
culturally inappropriate. And I think it's because they have such a small percentage of people who live there compared to how many tourists are there all the time.
Ah,
So they
that
have
makes
like
sense.
little benchmark places that are like, this is ours. And so then you run across your neighbors in that benchmark place. So anyway, that's my theory of
They
why
probably wouldn't even tell us those
this
places.
food was like, I have never, pesto has a strong flavor. There was so much pesto on this pasta that I could only take one bite. It's like,
Oh.
yeah, that's just my theory. I don't know.
Huh.
I guess that's a better theory than they were bad cooks. So, which I did not find anywhere else in Italy. And I can't wait to hear what Wendy ate. So 99.9% of the time, everything you put in your mouth is like heaven when you go to Italy. So that's the only reason we remember the
I will
times
agree
that
with
it's
that.
not. It is just incredible. So you will have that experience
Exactly.
no matter where you go. But the Venice Film Festival just adds an additional fun thing to do. Like you could just pop that in to your Venice trip already. So it's incredible. It's incredible. So we're going to move on.
That sounds pretty
to the history
amazing.
of, I think. So David, this note is for you. But so let's do the history of Venice. Do y'all want to ask me about it? I should have put questions in.
I will ask you because I'm curious.
Yeah.
So, Carol Beth, is this? I know you hear about things like the Cannes Film Festival, and you imagine that it's been there for, probably as long as filmmaking has been a thing. I really don't hear much about the Venice Film Festival. Is it as old or as established as something like Cannes, or I would even think Sundance over here in the States is newer too.
That's so funny. Okay, so I love that you asked that question because you have no idea. So it's the oldest. It is the oldest
Oh,
film
see,
festival
I do.
in the
I have
world.
no idea.
And it is the oldest of
Okay.
the 5 film festivals, of which you named a couple of them as well. So it's been around forever. And the history is fascinating. So the National Fascist Party founded it in 1932.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Well, see, you can tell
Yeah.
how wrong I was about all of this stuff and how little I know. I'm learning. This is fun.
Wait. What year did you say?
1932.
32?
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yes. So
Just a couple years
that's pretty
later.
significant.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. So first, so by Mussolini. So it was Mussolini's Minister of Finance. So this is
Wow.
what was going on in
Oh.
the world. It's totally fascinating to me. So there's actually a festival. It's called the Celebration of the Arts, or Venice Biennale. I don't know. So it started in 1839, which was really neat, but it didn't have film in it at that time. Now, it still exists, and it's art, architecture, dance, music, theater, and cinema. So there's so much to it. And then it doesn't even mention food, which is like, you can go get some of the best food in the world.
That's funny.
And wine. And it's got art, architecture, dance, music, theater, and cinema, right? It's just incredible that you can go do this. So American movies were really popular at that time under Mussolini's regime, when he was making waves, doing bad things. So there was Giuseppe Volpi. That was his minister of finance. And he and a couple other guys who were also fascists put together the film festival. They really did. And it was supposed to bring together people
Wow.
who love to watch films, but particularly American films. And the very first movie, have any guess? Like, I would never have known. A film in 1932. Can you even imagine what it might have been that they showed?
I'm trying to think of, let's see, Casablanca would have been later because
Yeah.
I don't know.
Dr.
What was
Jekyll
it?
and Mr. Hyde.
Oh,
Yeah.
Really?
that was not going to be my guess.
It
No.
was a
No.
surprise to me too. It was a surprise to me too.
Huh.
So they had it one year, and then they didn't have another year. Then they came back the following year, and so by 1936 they wanted more control. So the fascists didn't like, I keep saying the word, like, who would have thought that I would when I started this, that fascism would be a big piece of it, but they didn't want to not have control of it, so they moved it and made it
Of course.
and so it became, at that point, I think it became more visible. And then in the 1940s, and it's a rough time, like for Italy, it's a unique chapter of history dealing with all of World War
Mhm.
II and Hitler and everything. But
Mhm.
they did a Nazi propaganda film, and it won some of the awards that year.
Oh, my.
So,
Goodness
yeah.
gracious.
So that is, it's fascinating because there's been a lot of political interruption. There was obviously COVID interruptions. You see waves. So the most recent thing that's interesting, a couple of things. One is that about 10 years ago, they allowed you to buy passes to see some of the films online. So that is something you can do at your
Oh.
own home. And these are the first time these films are shown anywhere. You can't enter a film festival unless it's the first showing, right? So you can be one of the very first people
Right.
to watch it, even if you don't go. Of course, we recommend you do
That's
go.
cool.
I know, it's neat.
So who is over it now? I mean, obviously the fascists, we hope, are not
There's been multiple
over
chapters,
this film festival anymore.
and I think it's like it reminds me of, when you read about it, it reminds you of like almost reading about a nonprofit. Like, it has all its pieces. Like, there's a different jury every year that's elected by their peers, and it's no longer owned by the government or anything like that I understand. It is just it's its own entity, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Do they have different categories when you hear the winner of the Venice Film Festival?
They
Is
do.
this?
So
Is it different categories of movies?
What they want to win is the Golden Lion. That's the big kahuna, is the Golden Lion.
Oh.
Mhm.
Okay. And then they also have the Silver Lion. But then there's also special achievements. One of the ones that was very interesting to me to read about was they have one that is specifically for someone who's young and upcoming and promising. So like Jennifer Lawrence won when the year she turned 18 for a film I hadn't heard of. So a lot of times there'll be films that aren't necessarily big, though in recent years, that's the other thing that's changed, is in recent years, there are films that have made it big in Hollywood that also are shown in the Venice Film Festival. That used to never happen. It was more like the art house kind of films, unique films. And so there's a little bit of crossover now. And the Venice Film Festival is the only one that allows Netflix to enter.
Oh, that's
Really?
interesting.
Yes. It's so all fascinating.
I like that, though. I like that. They're making films. Why shouldn't they be able to enter? I think that's great.
Right.
It's definitely supportive of the arts
Cool.
and artistic expression, which means that you could go and be deeply offended, or you could go and be deeply moved.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like anything that's truly artistic, there's going to be those moments, and you're taking that risk when you get a ticket and walk in. You know, that's just part of the risk that you take. But that's true with any kind of art, right?
Absolutely.
Hopefully there's no I don't want to say anti-Semitic, but anti-any people propaganda anymore.
No, it much more
I hope that's done.
I think that if you think of the values of the artistic community and the world at large, that's what you're going to see. So that's why I say
the inclusivity of it, though.
It is very inclusive. Very inclusive. Yes.
Right.
So yeah, that's like I said, that I mean, and it is not known for pushing boundaries for the sake of pushing boundaries, if you know, but it is known for allowing people to express things that maybe they weren't able to in other ways. So I think it would be a fascinating.
Well, there's your platform for it.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah. And you get to go and mingle with celebrities and watch things you wouldn't get to any other way. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
The oldest. I'm still just, I don't know. I'm blown away because I just don't feel like it's one you hear about a ton. You know,
I agree.
Is the big name.
Yeah.
You know, when I think film festival, the first one that pops into my head is Cannes.
Well, and it was interesting to see the comparison, the contrast and compare. So what was described by people who are in the press talking about the differences of going, because they get to go frequently, is that when you go to the Venice Film Festival, you are relaxed. It is easygoing. You don't feel overwhelmed by people in your face all the time, and everybody has an agenda. Whereas when you go to France, the Cannes Film Festival, then it is everybody has an agenda. Everybody wants, hey, this is, you know, everyone's in the industry, and it's like being immersed in a big city.
Wow.
Just boom, 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 which makes complete sense because everything's very accessible. But you go to Venice and it's more of, you get more of that feel that you are part of something rather than you're in the middle of something. So
it also seems, if that's the case, it might be more about the actual film and the actual art as opposed to, I got to sell it, or I'm trying to find the next thing, is the way that's what it sounded to me when you were talking about the differences between the two.
That's what it felt like to me too.
Interesting.
And even going back to when I was around the corner from Diane Keaton, now we weren't on the island where they have everything. It was a couple of days before. So as we flew out of Marco Polo a few days later. And as we flew out, all these celebrities were arriving for the film festival, because there was little pockets of attention here and there, but it still wasn't the same. I've been to LA when I've seen a rush of paparazzi before, and it's uncomfortable. It feels bad. It makes me feel sorry for people who this is the industry that they're a part of. So the idea that you could go to something that celebrates what they do without them being assaulted constantly.
Yes.
I don't know. That sounds pretty amazing to me. Like, that's something I would enjoy.
Does sound pretty nice.
Yeah.
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 Plus the food.
Yeah, I couldn't live that life. Plus the food.
Plus the food. Plus the food.
It's always about the food.
Okay, so I want to make sure we talk about how you do this. We touched on it a little bit about that you can go ahead of time on the website. And there's, as far as traveling to get there and where you stay, for me, if I do this, which in research and doing this, David heard me, and he's going to edit this. So I have a feeling it's a very strong possibility that we could go at some point, because it sounds like fun.
Ooh.
I mean, it's also a time period that's a wonderful time to go, because it's the end of August, beginning of September. So that's a wonderful time to travel anyway. It is away from the crowds. It is still warm in Italy.
Yeah, it's pretty hot.
Yes.
It is very warm in that time of year.
It is. It is. So you can enjoy the beaches. I having been there before in September, I remember the churches felt really cold. And then you had to make sure to bring something to wrap your shoulders, because that's what you do to be respectful. So a lot of us would be sleeveless and You wanted to make sure to have something to wrap your shoulders in when you went into the churches, but it was no big deal. And then the gelato was amazing because we were hot. So it's a big win for me to go that time of year. And you can fly in to Marco Polo and you could go straight to that island and stay there, the island of Lido. I wouldn't. I would still go to the main island and stay right there in the middle of everything and enjoy that for a few days first. There's so much to see.
I agree.
I know, Wendy, you've been there a few times, right? To Venice? Yeah.
I have.
Where I enjoyed, I stayed just across on the Grand Canal at the Hilton it was built out of an old flour mill and it overlooked. And so I could see everything, but I wasn't right in the middle of everything. And I don't know if that would be better or worse. What do you think? Like, if you could pick anywhere to stay in Venice, where would you want to stay? Like what area?
Yeah. I mean, my favorite place that I stayed in Venice was just down. It was just off the Grand Canal. And yeah, absolutely. I think it's just ease of access to everything.
Yes.
And I mean, it was like down the street a little bit, but it was fabulous because it was down this little alley and you could see all the Italians in their homes. And
that's amazing.
But then you could just walk over to the Grand Canal and catch the water ferry to wherever you wanted to go.
And I think people realize, I didn't until I went, that so they're called, I'm going to butcher another word, Vaporetto. I think it's Vaporetto. That's basically, it's water taxis all over the place. So it's, you can just take them everywhere you want to go. So you can hop back and forth to the island that way. And it's every 20 minutes. So it reminds me of Disney buses or city buses, right? It's just every 20 minutes. You can hop on and off. So you can arrive by train and then you can hop on one. Or you can arrive by plane and you can hop on one. And it's nice. And I know, and I should have looked this up, there's another island in Venice that's known for their candy flowers. And so that's the third one. We'll have to just hop back on and talk about some of these delicacies that you can get.
Well, and there's the one that's known for their glass.
Yes.
And there's the one that's known, it's been so long since I've been, I can't remember all their names. And there's one that's extremely colorful. Like it's famous for its bright colors.
Yes. Like it. And I remember seeing,
and I want to say it begins with a B.
Probably, I'm not going to remember, but yes, I remember seeing when Instagram really became more and more popular for travel, however many years ago, that it had a resurgence. Yeah. There's just so many reasons to go to Venice. So I could easily make an entire vacation out of just going to Venice and immersing, especially with something
I think
like
anyone
this.
could. You bounce around and see all of the beautiful architecture.
Yeah.
I want to go and see the churches.
Absolutely.
Is it St. Mark's? Is St. Mark's like the big one? Is right? I'm wanting to draw
Venice,
a blank, but
know.
there's
I
a
feel like
cathedral
that's
in
right.
Venice.
And Doge's Palace.
I think
or
it's St. Mark's.
Palace.
I could be
How
wrong.
do you say it? DOGE.
The Doge's,
Palace, yeah.
But those are the things that are high on my list, is some of the beautiful cathedrals and the stained glass in them, just the artistry of building these things.
Oh yeah.
And the feats of engineering they were to be built where they were. It's just fascinating.
Yeah.
So that's one of my top reasons to visit.
Absolutely. Well, and ideally, I think it would be fascinating to do the architectural festival. Like who are they?
Yes.
Yes. Like that would be amazing to me. I'm such a nerd, but
right.
It is artistic. It's
no, I'm there.
Yes.
I'm quite nerdy myself.
I would either start or end in Venice and then work my way to Rome. Most likely is what I would want to do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But it's amazing. It's amazing. So now, do y'all want to go? That's my question. You ready? Wouldn't this be super fun?
I do.
I'm always ready.
You're always ready.
Oh. Yep.
Well, that's good.
Well, Wendy,
always ready to go.
Let's plan something.
So what?
I'm ready.
I can tell you we're not to eat.
Yes.
Okay. That makes me happy. But I'm curious. I kind of actually want to eat it.
I think that's
to see how atrociously bad it really was.
Your story, Wendy. I think you've teased us long enough. We have time, so wrap us up with your story. We're ready.
Okay, so I was with a group of people from our church. It was our small group, and we were going on a cruise. And we had been walking around. We didn't want to spend a ton of money because there was a lot of us and a few families. So we didn't want to spend a ton of money. but we didn't want fast food either. And so we were just looking for some place that was, like quick service food, I guess, but, nice Italian. Well, we finally found this little hole in the wall place, and we love hole in the wall places in Europe because you can find some great stuff there. So we go in and order the food. And the first thing that I notice is they're not Italians that are there.
Oh.
And so, okay, I'm just hoping that maybe they've lived in Italy long enough. They've picked it up, right? And then after we order, all of a sudden we start hearing the microwaves going in the back.
Oh, that's
like the microwave doors,
the beeping of the microwave.
And we immediately knew, this was not good. This is not going to be good.
Normal.
No. And so one of our friends, and it was not, it was not good. But one of the funniest part of this.
Go ahead. Sorry.
This is what makes the story so great is that our friend ordered a steak. And so they come out with his steak. Do y'all remember Steakums?
Yes.
Do you remember back in the...
Yes, I do. Mm-hmm.
Okay, you know what I'm talking about. It's like...
I do.
Very thin.
Fake bacon. Yes. Mm-hmm. That is what he got. You could hear the microwave
Steakums.
ping. They bring out his plate. It was like Steakums.
That's hilarious.
So that is what I think about when I think about the food in Venice.
Well, yeah.
Steakums.
That's hilarious.
It's so sad that's what you think of when I'm sure you had so many other amazing things on your trip.
Oh, yes. I mean,
poor Venice.
Most of the places have like 3-course meals, that you can order. But we were trying to
for generations longer than we ever even had in the United States. But you had.
How do you know that bag of Steakums wasn't passed down for generations?
That is so true.
Gross. Oh my heavens. Well, I have learned something in this episode of 3D TravelCast.
So did I.
Yes, yeah. Yeah. That's so funny. Did y'all learn anything?
Oh, absolutely.
I learned a ton. I am fascinated by the fascists starting this thing. And I'm going to have to go, I got to go tell my kid about it because he's fascinated by fascism, not because he wants to be a fascist or is one, but because it's mind-boggling, the history behind that and that Mussolini was so involved in starting the Venice Film Festival. That's so interesting.
When you tour Venice with a tour guide, you do hear a lot of the history of that and what it impacted, and you'll find statues that are related to that time. And so he would love that. Anybody who is interested in that time period, which it is.
Oh, he wants to go to Germany and Auschwitz on his senior trip. It's not really in the budget for a senior trip type vacation, so it's not going to happen.
Just wait. Joshua prayed me to Italy for his senior trip. So you never know.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Is he praying?
Oh, don't say that. Not that I don't want to go, but I don't know if my heart could handle it. But he wants to go and see things like that because he's fascinated by it and adamant that we don't forget so that it never happens again.
Amen.
So
yeah. We took our 2 oldest to Auschwitz. We didn't let Ashley. She was too young at the time,
right?
But Austin was very into World War II, and so we went to Auschwitz and. Yeah, it's very, very moving.
It is.
Definitely.
But the reason we would go, I feel like, to Venice would be completely superficial, like just as far as the film festival. It would be absolutely voyeuristic and fun, and just because it would be such a unique experience. So hopefully someone will go and tell us all about it, or we'll go. That'll be great.
I was going to say, you can go and tell us all about it.
David will eat his way. David has still not even been to Italy, and Italian food is his favorites. By far, especially real Italian food. So I don't know. It's going to be something when he finally gets
he
to
should
go.
Eat the steakums.
He wouldn't. So here's what I think he would do is he would just be like, he just wouldn't eat it because he wouldn't want it to take up prime stomach real estate that he could go and eat something else, if he had to skip it and do later.
Yeah.
No, my man. Oh my goodness. We should probably wrap this up.
from the 3D
because I don't know where we're
TravelCast.
going to go.
This is Wendy Armstrong.
Sandy Barnes.
And Carol Beth Scott. Until next time.